Today I'm going to be reviewing two books by the same author, The Orphanage by the Lake and The Red Letter, both by Daniel G. Miller. A couple months ago, I finally picked up Orphanage by the Lake, which I had been wanting to read. It had been on several tables that I'd been looking at over at the bookstore, and I was interested. Anytime there's a lake, there's a mystery by a lake, for some reason I'm in. So this starts out with the protagonist, Hazel Cho, who is running her own PI firm. It's not going particularly well, and she's taking whatever she can get as far as clients, which has not been the greatest. Her office is getting a little run down. She's running out of money. She's taking clients that put her in some precarious situations. The clients aren't the best. And she's starting to really question whether this whole PI thing is going to work out. And she has a client that comes in, a very wealthy woman, who says that her goddaughter has gone missing from an orphanage upstate. And the godmother is not very maternal, so she didn't take the goddaughter in when the parents died or whatever happened. But she does really care about this child, and she has gone to see her and continuously stayed in her life. So when the child goes missing, and the child is I want to say 13 maybe, when she goes missing, she's very concerned. She really is concerned about this child, and she wants to get her back. And so she's been hiring PI after PI after the police investigation went nowhere. So when she hires Hazel, she offers her a very large sum of money. And she said, but the caveat is you have 10 days because I can't waste time on this. I've got to get somebody who can actually solve this mystery. And so I want to make sure that somebody is actively investigating it. I don't want somebody just wasting time. And Hazel knows that 10 days after it's already been investigated by the police and multiple other private investigators, it's not enough time, but she has no choice but to accept, because this would be life-changing money. This would be money that could help her get into a better office space and to say no to some of these clients that she's been forced to take. So she says yes, and she begins investigating this crime. And nobody really wants to talk to her because they've all been talking to the police and other investigators ad nauseum, and they're like, we've already told everybody all this stuff before. But slowly she does start to uncover little bits and pieces. Meanwhile, this woman keeps showing up to her office super early in the morning. Like, what do you have? Where are you so far? You're getting nowhere. You're wasting time. And Hazel is doing her very best. And she reaches out to one of the prior investigators on the case, and you get the hint that is there possible romance that's going to happen here? And so it's not overt, it's just kind of they're both on the same page and they seem like they're both good people. One of the things that I really liked about this book was the way that the characters were written. Very believable. When you have a woman private investigator, she's either tough as nails, ridiculous to the point where nothing can faze her. She's showing up all the men, and everybody's she's kind of got a chip on her shoulder type of thing. Or she's this absolute helpless damsel in distress, getting herself in scrape after scrape and has to be rescued by the romantic lead. Neither of these things are occurring in this book, which I found very interesting. Hazel is written in a very believable way, like a real person. And she has other things going on in her life that also make her believable. She has Asian parents who did not want their daughter to become a private investigator. Instead of dwelling 100% on this is why she wants to make her PI business work, to show her parents that she can really do it, it's yes, that is in her mind, but that's not her whole motivation. That isn't an overarching theme. It's just kind of generally there in the background of her mind. She also has a roommate, Kenny. He's Asian as well, and he has a crush on her, and she knows it. And he's always making her breakfast, pancakes, and all sorts of, Asian food, and making sure she's fed. And she can tell that he likes her, but it's not this overarching thing. She's navigating it. It's something in her life that she has to kind of be careful about, because she does care about his friendship. He's her roommate, but she wants to make sure that it stays in the friend zone and that he doesn't get any ideas. And so that is another thread that's kind of woven through. She isn't insecure, but she also has reasonable doubts. Like, she does kind of think every once in a while, like, I don't know if this is going to pan out. I don't know, this isn't really working. She doesn't want to have to fold her private investigator business, but she's realistic. Like, if I don't really turn this thing around, I don't know that I'm going to have much choice. And so she's very realistically written. The mystery, I would say, is, so I would give character development 5 stars, because I feel like it's not leaning heavily on tropes. It's its own, each character is their own thing. So I enjoy that. I feel like realistic character development. As far as the mystery, I would give it probably a 4. It's not knock it out of the park mysteries, but they are the entertaining mysteries that you would normally see in this genre. I was surprised at the ending. It was a twist. It was, you're kind of suspecting kind of everybody, but it was a bit of a surprise the way that it ended. And so I was, pleasantly surprised at that. And when I saw the next book and that it was a sequel, I picked it up right away, even though it wasn't what I was in the market to get that day. Because usually I read classics all the time, but usually I also read other books on the side as like an entertainment in lieu of watching TV. I read other books. So I will usually read a mystery and then a comedy, mystery romance type of thing. So I had just read a mystery with The Orphanage by the Lake. And so I was actually going to buy a rom-com type of an Emily Henry book. But when I saw the red letter, I was like, that cover looks kind of like familiar. And so I picked it up. And then I realized it was the same author that I had just read. And then I realized, oh, it's a sequel to the book that I just read. So I bought it right away and I read it that weekend. So the red letter picks up months or so later, where Hazel she had solved the mystery of the missing girl and she got the money. And so now she has gotten herself into a better work environment, better offices. She's hired people. She has an assistant. She has other investigators working, and she has a much better clientele because the mystery that she ended up solving was very high profile, involved some it got some high profile coverage. And so she is more sought after now, and she can pick and choose and charge higher prices. So she's doing pretty well. She's also dating somebody who is running for governor of the state of New York, or the city of New York. I can't remember which. And so she's dating somebody very high profile. She's in a very good relationship, and she is asked to investigate by her friend, who is a lawyer, asked to clear her client, who has been charged with the murder of a very beloved local priest. And Hazel doesn't want to get involved. She doesn't want to get involved for a few reasons. One, because she knew the priest. The murder was a poisoning caught on tape, and she watched the man die, and she was just very unsettled by it. She really doesn't want another super high profile case like that right now. And she's concerned about, that she's dating somebody who's running for office. She just doesn't know like how that would look or how it would affect it. She just doesn't want to have anything to do with it. But she ends up taking the case for a variety of reasons. She ends up taking the case. And what happened is that the priest was murdered, and there was a red letter that had been slipped under the door that had a cryptic Bible verse and had this drawing of a famous picture, but drawn in like blood, like it had been sketched out in blood. And so it was very ominous. And she starts investigating this, and then it's not the only murder done this way. There are other red letters there are other murders in the same sort of vein. And she is getting very close to understanding. She's understanding that the person that's been charged is not the person who did it. And so she understands that much, but she's trying to unravel it as fast as she can before other people, including people close to her, are murdered. And so I would say that the twist at the end of this one I was very surprised. And so I would maybe give the second one like a 5-star rating as far as the mystery as well. What I like about Hazel Cho, too, is that she thinks the same way we think. So there are times where in the book you're thinking, well, who's this lawyer friend? You know, like, how long has she known her? Could she possibly be involved? And then, you know, you read a couple pages later where Hazel's like, is it possible that it's, you know, this friend of mine? And like, how well do I really know them? So I like that the way that her mind works is the same that the way that the reader is thinking. Like, everybody's a suspect. Nobody is out of the realm. And she's really trying to solve this murder while also feeling that she's herself is being targeted possibly by the murderer too. She feels like somehow she's on the radar. She doesn't understand why. She doesn't understand what the connection is. And so it's a very good sequel, and I'm looking forward to the third book that I think comes out in September. So anyways, that's my review of Orphanage by the Lake and The Red Letter. I would highly recommend, by Daniel G. Miller.